Good day. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Today I seek to bring to a close our series on the disciplines of the abundant life. Hopefully I'll be able to fit it all into the normal 24-5 minutes I do. If not, we'll continue the following week. But it is very important for us to conclude with this topic: the discipline of balancing personal, relational, and work life. The discipline of balancing personal, relational, and work life. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 18 says that whoever fears God avoid all extremes. And our life is such that the tendency is to go either overboard in one area and neglect other areas. In my books on personal management, namely Living by Strategy and Managing Your Life, I introduce a concept of successful failures. And by that, I mean there are many people whom the world counts as success, but they know that they are not successful. They are inwardly hurting as failures. And it's very simple. The world will always put you on a pedestal on one area of your life, usually the work life. But then other areas will be neglected. So you have a successful business person or a rich person with a family breaking down. And that is a successful failure. Also, there's many academicians who are living lives which are not worth to talk about. So how do you achieve balance? And it requires discipline. It's not something that comes easily for anyone, myself or you. It is a continuous process which you go through all your life. But it is important that at any point of time, you are taking care of all the other areas of your life. As Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone. The financial aspect is not adequate, neither in your family life. If you want to concentrate on your family life and you have no money to look after them, very soon your family life will disintegrate. And at the same time, many people are suffering from relational challenges because they are pursuing career or wealth to the neglect of others. Each one of us, whether we like it or not, has many dimensions of our lives. For the typical married person, you have your work life or your profession, you have your marriage or your love life, you have your family life, raising up of your children, parenting. You have your own physical life to take care of. And oftentimes people neglect eating well, exercising, and not taking care of their physical life and suffer greatly. And that often too late. Again, our intellectual life. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, when they complete a set of education, they say, I have completed school. I've finished school. We don't. There's a continuous upgrading. And I'm told by the experts that the mind, if you use your mind, actually it gets better with age, even when your physical body is weakening. Then there are social life, you have relationships with your extended family, with your friends. Many stop cultivating their social life and as a result pay dearly later on in their life when they are old. And the worst part of it is people neglecting their spiritual life. And Jesus says that what shall it profit a man or a woman to gain the whole world and lose their soul? It is therefore important for us to work towards a balanced life so that we have a balance between our personal, relational, and, of course, professional life. And don't make the mistake of neglecting some aspect which will catch up with us later in our life. For example, the spiritual life, if you don't take care of your spiritual relationship with God, doesn't mean that you cannot be intellectual, you cannot make money oftentimes. In fact, they make more money through the wrong way. But Jesus says, what shall it profit a man to gain even the whole world and forfeit his soul? Don't be a successful failure. And whoever fears God will avoid all extremes, according to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 18. It is therefore important for us to aim at balance, encouraging us to be moderate in certain pursuits so that we do not totally neglect other areas of our lives. How then do we achieve this with all the pressures? First of all, the difficulty lies in what the world wants to fit everybody into its mold. Everybody, women, men, his career, you must get to the top, or you must accumulate in our Ghanaian context as much money as possible, irrespective of how you do it, so that corruption, which is actually naked thievery of public resources and denying many vulnerable people what they need for their well-being, for your selfish interests. Be very, very careful that those who trust God would avoid such tendencies. Let me quickly, therefore, go through how we can avoid all extremes. Sharing with some business people recently, to be exact, at the corporate meeting of the Tobinco Group, I shared 10 ways in which, especially a Christian, and for that matter also anyone who desires to have a balanced life, can manage their relationships in such a way that they don't become successful failures. The first step answers the question, what are you balancing or disciplining yourself to? And the first step is that you must have an organizing principle, some principle for which all other things must cohere. I like the work of Stephen Adei in his book First Things First. It's basically about time management, but he introduces a concept which is so important. He calls it the true north. In other words, a matter, something that will bring all things, your family life, your work life, your social life, if you follow it, will all cohere. And he got it from a very simple, though it doesn't explain in that book, but my reflecting on it, as how God made the world. He put the magnetic north at the North Pole. He has put in a certain type of magnet that wherever you are in the world, when you have a compass, it will point you to the true north. So with a compass, you can almost have a direction of your village if you know where it is and you have a compass. In the same way, all the modern GPS, the global positioning system, and you have this Google guiding you even to my village, all depends on the fact that God created the world with the magnetic north, so that the navigators, the airplanes, everyone are guided by it. You need the equivalent in your own life, which I call it organizing principle, whereby basically as you follow the principle, it simplifies your life. People think that people who are organized and balance their personal relational life is like tossing 3 balls at the same time and trying to catch it. No, there can be an underlying trend. In fact, people who have an organizing principle or a true north have a very simple life. It's like the child. I like children because when a child has a friend, he relates everything in relation to the friend's name. So it is Kofi's father. Kofi's mother. Even the house he lives in is Kofi's house. It doesn't belong to the parents. Kofi's car. And in other words, Kofi becomes the one around whom he organizes everything with Kofi. In the same way, you can have a true north or an organizing principle in life, which will simplify your life, be the anchor to which all other areas are related to. And with that, you go through life and makes it a ball. It has been a pleasure for me to have an organizing principle, which I will be sharing soon, that has made my life very, very simple. Some people sometimes ask you, Stephen, you are doing too much. You are working in the church, you are working running the school, you are a professional teaching in the university, you are doing all those type of things, you serve on several boards. How do you make it? And they think that it's a matter of every morning juggling, what can I do with this? No, it's as simple as following my organizing principle. Having a principle that ensures that all my life are not only linked together, but that they are controlled by underlying principle. As a Christian, I can share my own, you will find your own. Because every successful person has that, even at the expense of their life not being balanced. The businessman, most of them are just after money. The artist after fame. The academics to become a professor or a professor emeritus. So therefore, they focus on that one because that is what matters to them. So even those who may not be Christians all have their organizing principle. What drives them and their daily management of their time, their energy and all. Except that if your organizing principle does not allow you to balance your personal, relational and professional life, at the end of it, you climb the corporate ladder and you look back and there's nobody behind you. Your wife is gone, your children are vagabonds, or you would get all the money and yet you have lost even your own life. So as a Christian, I have made Jesus Christ my true north or my organizing principle. And I believe that as I obey Jesus Christ and his word, with the Holy Spirit in me, every aspect of my life is organized and balanced. For example, I don't sit down and say that, how am I going to marry well? How am I going to work well? How am I going to manage my relationship with my friends? No. I ask, what will Jesus have me do? And Jesus says that I should love my wife as he loved the church. It makes my relationship with my wife on a solid foundation. How do I work? He says that for whatever your hands finds to do, do it with all your might as serving the Lord God. And you make friends. Why? Not in an exploitative way, but because iron sharpens iron. So therefore, so long as I am following Jesus Christ as my GPS or as my true north, other decisions become far simpler than other people are trying to do. So other people are having problems with their marriage and everything else. Why? Because they have side chicks and they want to organize their marriage well. Their children, because they are making money, they forget their children. But it's our responsibility. The Bible says, train a child in the way that he should go. And when he grows up, he will not depart from it. Number two, and I'm not going to spend as much time on number one because it's very difficult to explain number one to people. The rest I'm going to give a minute or so to them. The second is that set your priorities. If you haven't your own agreed upon life priorities, you are likely to find it difficult to balance your personal, relational, and work life. And it's an attitude. Because attitude is almost everything. What are your priorities in life? Let me share mine. My priority is first and foremost to please and honor God. The second is to love my wife as Christ loved the church. The third is to raise a godly family. And the fourth is to work so as my work will be a testimony to God, family, and country. As a result, it is easier for me to live my life because every now and then there's a conflict, and then immediately my priorities will determine which one. I don't follow career if it's going to conflict with my family life or it's going to undermine my relationship with Jesus Christ. But that does not, thank God, loving my wife, loving my family, raising up, does not conflict with my career. In fact, peace at home becomes the springboard of excellence in the workplace. And I thank God for those who want to go and check at the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Commonwealth Secretaries, the United Nations, GIMPA, Pentecost University, or Ashasi University. No, but when your priorities are right, you find that you can make a lot of progress. That leads to the next step, is therefore translating your priorities into what I call a purpose-driven living. One of our Christian mentors, Rick Warren, has written the book Purpose-Driven Life, and it's quite important because he emphasizes the importance of knowing why you are here on earth, having a mission and a clear vision, and so clear that if you know what you are living for, not to make money. Making money is good, if you make it righteously. Not to get my degrees, of course, having 8 degrees. Once again, let me emphasize, the third step is living a purpose-driven life. Making sure your mission is clear, and you have a vision for every turn or every epoch of your life, and you must make sure that your life is such that it's not just other determined. Your employer, the government, your parent, yes, all have a role to play, and I'll come to that. But at the end of the day, you must know why you are here on earth, your purpose, what you want to achieve, and how other things and other people's priorities will fit in. In other words, be intentional about living and be willing to put in the energy to achieve your purpose. There will always be a battle of the will to live a purpose-driven life. But if you don't have a purpose, mission, vision, you are likely to say at the end of your life, I wish I had my life to live it again. Step number 4 is that you must have clear goals for the important areas of your life. I mentioned the various areas of your life. We are talking about your spiritual life. We are talking about your relationship with your wife, that is your marital life. We are talking about your relation, what you are going to do for your children, your intellectual life, your work life. There must be clear set goals for the important areas of your life. Your finances, what you want to achieve within 10 years and so. Because that will allow you to live by objective. In the olden days, in the evolution of management, there was management by objectives. You must set goals for each of the important areas of your life. In other words, the personal area, for the relational area, and for your work life. And you must live by it. And that should be the one that should be driving your day-to-day agenda, not the fact that, whatever goes. And oftentimes, Others will determine that for you. Now comes the next one. You must learn to have effective time management, which is driven by your purpose, by your vision, by your goals. In other words, it is vision and goal-driven time management. Because if you don't do that one, you may have a day after day, but not achieve what you set out to. Learn the art of purpose-driven management. Put first things first, and make sure that you have budgeted time for those important areas of your life. Because so many men, business people, have not budgeted time for their children, budgeted time for their marriage, and therefore they end up not making the time. Each one of us have 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours a day of discretionary time, and how you manage that time makes all the difference. Those who balance their personal, relational, and professional life also have another major element in their life. It is the ability to say no to certain things. Oftentimes it's said that the good is the enemy of the best. There are so many things that will be demanding your time, your energy, your intellect. But in your prioritization, you also say no to other things. Nobody can do everything. And in order to balance your personal, relational, and professional life, you must learn to say no to some good things in order to focus on a few most strategic ones in your life. You therefore say no to joining every club, attending party meetings and other things, so that you be with your wife and your children. When you are going to work, you know that you are going to work for 8 hours, and you devote your time to that. In fact, those people who make the most of their life have what they want to do every week, as well as every day, their must-do activities. And they redeem other times in order to focus on their priorities. That leads to another thing. Another step in managing your professional, relational, and work life is learning to work with others. If you are a boss, you must learn to delegate certain things to others so that you can focus on that. You must work with your wife and your children to hold you accountable that there are certain times, which are family times, you are going to protect it. You must be conscious this day and age to build friendships, to visit your friends, and to relate to them. And oftentimes, it's said that no one ever succeeds alone. If you don't learn how to synergize with people who are your mentors, with colleagues, as well as with those who work under you, you are not likely to achieve that balance, and especially when you have to delegate those who happen to be at the top. It's so important that you do so. Another thing that goes into really helping you to manage your personal, relational, and professional life is commitment. Most people have a lot of things in their agenda. They prepare strategic plans, what they want to do, but they are not committed to it. The discipline of following through is so important that you show commitment to the things you prioritize and prepare to make sure that you budget time for it and discipline yourself to make sure that it happens. I have found that every day, every week ahead of time, in my diary, I put certain things every day I want to do. And then every day I have a must-do things, about 3 of them. For example, as I'm talking to you today, I have 3 things I want to do, including being at our school to lead in a graduation for 2 hours. I have to attend a friend's mom's funeral. I don't go to many funerals, but to me, that one is quite important. But at the end of the day, it is important for us to know that our life should be linked to God. Not only do we have Jesus Christ as our objective, but trusting God to help us in this great venture of balancing personal and relational life. And the joy of seeing that you have taken care of yourself, your physical activities, exercise, you are eating and other things, your relationship with your wife, children, and friends, and also excelling in work. Then you will be truly successful, because unlike most people, you have fulfilled what the Christianity says, that a righteous man, a God-fearing man, avoids all extremes. Shalom, and we will meet next week as we start a new series.